I'm starting with the large brush and with the sky, going around the trees. So the larger brush you have, the faster process gonna be. Tilt my paper and see where the paper is wet, where it's not. I'm just going around the trees. And I'm gonna use ultramarine blue and indigo. Here's ultramarine. So right at the edge of paper, we're gonna have darker color, and closer to horizon line, it's gonna get lighter. So I have darker here. I'm gonna drop some indigo. Can leave some white in the sky to make it more interesting. Just gonna clean that. And now with damp brush, can create some interesting clouds in the sky. Maybe add a little bit of darker shade. So I'm adding a little more of the indigo, creating darker clouds. And I will stop right here, just soften this line. I can even use paper towel and lift some. Okay, now I'm gonna go and wet down the bottom. So I'm starting with the spot painting. The most important is the values right now, not the details. So we're gonna drop some darker green. I'm gonna start with yellow. Gonna drop some yellow and mix with orange tone. A little bit of green. Some more orange. And I'm gonna splatter some orange and yellow down here while it's still wet. And a little bit of green. And I'm creating the darker spot right here. And if you guys my Patreon member, you're gonna have the file attached, the visual I used and the traceable download. So I have darker here and here under the trees while it's still wet. I'm dropping some areas I left dry, and it's beautiful when you have a mixture of loose and dry brush strokes. So we have greens. Let's add some burnt sienna and more reddish color. So you can mix right here on paper. You can also mix with your green on the palette, but add those interesting shades of greens and browns. I will even drop some tiny bit of purple, and it's gonna create that nice and interesting brown shade when mixing on paper with yellow and green tones. And right here, so it's purple. So I'm gonna drop some more intense green right here, but this is the first wash, so I don't worry about details. And it's nice when you splatter lighter color on your dark, so I can go with yellow and orange and splatter on my dark green. Now I can start creating the tree shapes. I'm going with wet brush and just wetting down some areas, not the whole tree. So I'm gonna start with yellow with the lighter value. So I have cadmium yellow. So we can start with translucent yellow. Just lightly touch your paper. Now gradually we'll be building more of the darker value with greens, with orange and red. And I always have my scrap piece of paper to test how transparent the paint is. And I would like more intense, more thicker. So we're dropping. I'm gonna keep the right tree more red, and the tree on the left will be more with greens. So, but it's still gonna have some orange and yellow, but I will be adding more greens on the left. Okay, just going with alizarin crimson and adding darker reds in the tree, and I will use another brush and splatter orange and red tones again. So more orange. Get that nice loose texture. If you get a little bit in your sky, you can lift it, but it also adds that nice interest. There are a couple of drops in the sky and I really like it. Okay, and the bottom of the trees will be darker value. So I'm going with darker red right here. You see I'm leaving white spots. To keep it look more interesting, I'm gonna start the left tree with the greens. So I'm just gonna dab in the greens. See, I'm leaving whites. Gonna go with brighter undersea green. And right at the bottom of the branches, I'm gonna have darker value. I'm gonna go with perylene green. See, I'm keeping the top part of the tree lighter. Can drop in some into the red and create that brown shade. All I'm doing, just lightly dabbing. I'm gonna make it more interesting, add some yellow. Now I'm going on top of the branches. And I'm gonna go with clean brush and just loosen up the edge. Create that beautiful soft transition into the sky. Make sure your water is clean when you do that. I'm just gonna kind of blend in with the sky. Just erasing that hard outline. And same here, just kind of blending in the edges. And still like some of them hard. There you go. Okay, I'm gonna go with more intense green at the bottom. Do you see how instantly it builds the volume and dimension? Okay, splatter some more orange. Beautiful. Can even dab some with the brush. Beautiful, beautiful textures. Okay. Now I'm gonna wait for everything to dry and do the details. And now I would like to add something interesting at the horizon. I would do some grayish, so I'm using indigo with my green, and just with the dry, with wet on dry, just gonna add something interesting. The trees in the back, so this is more indigo. Just dabbing in darker values, some interesting lines, and not going with too dark because it's all in the back. So I'm going around the tree. I'm gonna actually lift some and on the right, same thing, creating that interesting and color gets more intense at the horizon line, so it's the darker than the top. And I'm gonna add a little bit of the sky color here, that grayish ultramarine. Just tiny bit, so it's not white. Between the trees. And that's it. And while this area is drying, I'm gonna work on the foreground. I'm gonna use Chinese calligraphy brush, this funky brush, and I'll show you before you go on your painting. Just test on your scrap piece of paper again. So with darker green value, I'm just gonna be creating some interesting foreground. and a little bit of burnt sienna. So I have variations of green and browns. And darker value, I'm adding indigo for my darkest. And now with dry brush, going right here as well. Adding some grasses just randomly under the tree. More browns. And the dry brush strokes right here. So I'm gonna add more orange right between the trees. And more intense red. Just dab some. And here in the foreground to balance that red at the top. And this line I'm gonna paint darker greens and add a little bit of burnt sienna, so it's like brownish green right here and more on the drier side. And it will continue on the right a little bit. Couple of dry brush strokes of the details with the fine point of the brush I use. It's number 8, but it has beautiful fine point. I would like to add a little bit of brighter green, so I'm gonna add yellow and just splatter some. There you go. Now I'm gonna wait for everything to dry and go with details on the tree branches and the tree trunks. Went and just using broken line to create those branches. Need very intense dark color. And dry brush strokes I'm testing here. And I'm gonna vary the shade of brown. So I'm adding more red to make it more lighter and interesting. Now more brownish. And I'm keeping the left side darker. So more of that red sienna. Okay, let's go to this tree. More red. In my brown. So left will be darker. So I'm just dabbing some darker brown here. Adding indigo to get almost black looking, the darkest value. So I can go under the tree, create the shadows. So this is one tree, this is the second one. So some more details in the grasses. Now I'm gonna take the liner brush. I'm gonna take the needle brush. Here's my needle brush. Just lightly touching my paper and painting between this foliage, trying not to overdo it. And going back to grasses, adding more interesting details, the darkest values. Adding those final characters. And now I will add some details with the sponge. I'm using my sea sponge and we'll go on top of those tree branches using same colors. I'm gonna test again on my paper scrap. So more orange, more red. And these should be perfect. Just adding tiny bit of details. Maybe a little bit right in the grass. And I love it. I love the texture of the sea sponge. Can go with darker. I'm adding purple into my red, so it's going to be more burgundy color. Oh, pretty. And I'm going to add a little bit of green on that tree as well. So using that yellow and green. Oh, looks so beautiful. Now stepping away, always check what you have. And I would like to darken this a little bit. And this is it. I'm just gonna fix this. Gonna soften the line of the tree and drop some yellow And that's about it. It's just very simple, loose landscape, your fall landscape.